back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us for our show again this week. We're always glad for people like you that are interested in the issues that are happening in our cities. Because it is important for good government that there be a good flow of ideas back and forth between the mayors and the city council people, residents like yourself, and our city staff. It makes for good government. So we're glad that you're with us tonight and that you're interested in what's happening. If you haven't watched us before, each week we'll have somebody on from one of the 9 areas in CCX's viewing area to talk and tell us about what are some of the current issues and topics that are happening in their city right now and into the near future. And this fall is an election year for one of our cities. Golden Valley has their city elections in odd number of years. They're the only one of our 9 cities that does. So we'll have some candidates on tonight from the Golden Valley City Council. And we'll encourage you, particularly if you're from Golden Valley, that you take down the email and the phone number. And if there's issues as we go along and as our guests are talking about them tonight, that you take time to make sure that your ideas are shared with the city council candidates and that you know where they're coming from on issues that are important to you. So we're very happy tonight to have Andy Schuler and Larry Faunus, who are both running for the Golden Valley City Council. And I shared some thoughts and ideas with them ahead of time so that we'll be all kind of on the same track. We asked them to think about different kinds of issues that are happening in all of our cities, but to focus on what's particularly important for you as you're running as a candidate for the city, what the issues that you think are important. And we'll start out with Andy Schuler, and I'll have you first talk to our general audience out there and tell them something about your background and how that's prepared you to be on your city council.
Sure. First, I'd like to say thank you for having us.
Oh,
I really
thank you.
respect what you do here. Maybe if I end up winning, I'll be more encouraged to get another show going.
Right, that'd be
a late
good.
night with Andy Schuler show.
Right.
A good way to communicate with voters.
It would work. Right.
Yeah, it could be a call-in show maybe.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm Andy Schuler. My friends call me Andy or Schuler.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in Golden Valley.
Oh.
I lived in my parents' first house for the first 5 years of my life. That was off Lilac Drive.
Uh-huh.
And then we moved to Knowles Street, where I lived for until about 14 years. And then we moved to Plymouth. And then I recently bought my own house in Golden Valley.
And came back to Golden Valley.
Yep, I really like it here. It's near the city, and it's got a lot of greenery. You know, I'd like to preserve that as much as possible.
Okay.
It's one of the main reasons why I moved here. And obviously, you know, I spent my wonder years here, so it's
right.
nostalgic and all that. I guess like one thing that kind of motivates me to be on city council is when we did move off of Lilac Drive, it was against our will. I don't know who was on the council at the time. I was only 5, but somebody decided they should vote to put in an office building there. And in my opinion, it's kind of awkwardly, even to this day, within a residential, otherwise neighborhood. And my folks were very, humble about it.
Yeah.
But I always felt like it kind of like a little perturbing. You know? Might have been part of the reason why they even eventually decided to leave the city.
Oh yeah, could be.
They wanted to stay until we, finish school and stuff, and then move so that we're not transporting when we're young.
Right.
So one of my main goals, if elected, is to prevent that kind of thing from happening. There's a lot of worry too about development occurring.
Oh, right.
People losing their homes, and
right.
I feel like that hits home close, so no pun intended.
Right.
But that was a little bit of a tangent there, but trying to just explain why I'm here.
And that's what we want people to hear about, why you're running and how it's preparing you for what you're looking forward to doing in the future.
Yeah, and I think it would have been real nice if somebody had came and visited us back then, and I feel like that's the kind of thing I'd like to do. Is if someone's home or neighborhood is being impacted by whatever development,
Right.
I'd like to go there personally and knock on doors and ask people how they feel about everything, just face to face.
Gather more input.
Yeah, get the feel for the neighborhood and how they feel about what's going on.
So we're not ranking them or saying anything is more important than another, but just sharing thoughts and ideas on about 3 of these issues. So I'll let you start with one of the issues that you can tell people out in Golden Valley where you're coming from and what you'd like to see happen.
Okay. One of the issues I highlighted was the blue line extension and the stations being placed or planned.
Right.
I ran 2 years ago, and you had me on too.
Right.
And I kind of went in like gung ho with all these, bleeding heart, liberal, ultra progressive, green agendas, right? And I realized that I'll save that for when I run for Senate.
Okay.
But for City Council, I learned a lot doing this kind of thing, way more than I would at
you do.
in school or in its real life experience.
Definitely.
And I always thought I was a good listener, but I was glad I didn't win last time because I learned that I wasn't listening enough. And I feel like that's now almost all I have to do.
Right.
The city will do, there's a lot of opinions out there.
Oh,
and if you just
definitely.
pick up on what people are trying to say, you can make people a little more happy. So with the blue line stations, I was really trying hard to kind of make everyone happy last time.
Right.
Like,
right.
we don't want a parking lot. We can have maybe a park and ride type of thing. Yada yada yada. But then I after just talking with people and reading, I got these. These are the
Yes, there's lots of information available.
Yeah, tons.
That's for sure.
And this is just one of the open houses.
Right.
And there's just like dozens of written statements.
Right.
And the majority of the bulk of them are just, I can't tell you how many times I counted no station at GV. So after reading all those and getting a better feel for the neighborhood, and that's my decision. I mean, the people have spoken, so whether I want it there or not isn't important. I mean, I do support light rail, but like a lot of people in these messages, I don't support where it is, unfortunately, and not even sure if we have a deal yet with the railroad company. Last I heard, it was still kind of up in the air. You probably know more about that than I would. But, I'd want to make sure everything's legit first before we spend too much money planning and whatnot. And talk to people, find out if they even want this, and maybe we can put it somewhere better, like perhaps down 100 where there's more businesses and already people. We won't have to tear down the neighborhood and build from scratch, rewrite everything. So that's kind of where I'm at there.
Okay. Then second issue.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, kind of associated with that is the park and ride.
Okay.
There's an area here. I took a little photo, and I don't know if you can see that. But that's the area where there's a planned parking lot. So, yeah, that's my my motto this year: stay golden. I don't think we should be. This is a preserved area.
Right.
I don't think people preserved it just for fun. There's a sign there, and this is what I'm talking about, how kind of visiting areas that are impacted personally, finding out on the ground. Native prairie plant communities. In the 1990s, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board began efforts to reintroduce and restore some of the native plant communities.
In Theodore Worth.
Yep. And there's only 1% left in the state of these prairie community because of what humans have done in the past century. And I think we should be expanding parks, not making them smaller. And I've heard there's a talk about trading spaces or whatever, but my opinion is if there's an area that doesn't have anything going on for it, if it's blighted and we can't afford to put something there, just tear everything down and put up a park, plant some trees. It's free. You can never have enough shade.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a main issue in my neck of the woods. I'm on the east side right now, so we kind of feel like we're almost like our own little city sometimes.
Oh, yeah, because different parts of the city have different reactions to what's going
Absolutely.
on. That's for sure.
People, like a mile away or so, they might want it there, but they're not going to be specifically impacted.
Right, the same way.
Whereas all these people are, oh man, some of these are hilarious too. I just got to read one or two of them.
Sure.
They're hilarious but sad. Or like this, like, I hope you are hearing this discontent. You need to listen more, talk less. These go on and on and on. And some of them, I got to admit, just made me laugh. I object to my whole neighborhood being leveled. Because the week I moved into that house, actually, a couple years ago, I saw plans already for apartments and condos or whatever that you want to put there, fit as many units as possible for their, to get tax revenue. And it's just such a nice neighborhood. I've never, lived anywhere that just unique and friendly, and it's just, I can't imagine why somebody would even print those plans in the first place. So yeah, it's a big issue over there.
Okay, and then a third issue that is important to you, or that you want to share with our audience.
With housing projects, I would like to see a little bit more, less of the apartments.
Okay.
That seems to be a huge thing.
Right now,
everywhere.
A lot. Right.
Yeah, every city is doing it, and they're using the tax increment financing, which is kind of a controversial thing, depending how you look at it.
It can be, right.
Development, population-wise, isn't necessarily my bag. I'd like to try to satisfy the people living here already. Because there's just a lot of discontent. A lot of people are just frustrated, and they don't want to hear about my awesome ideas about how to make the world a better place. They just want to things running and smoothly, and keep it simple. And I think there should be less apartments and more perhaps like one person suggested on Facebook was a campus, like a corporate campus type of thing. That way, we don't have to worry about spending more money on thousands of new amenities.
Right.
I knew I'd get that word wrong. And it seems like kind of like a never-ending cycle to me.
Right.
So something like a corporate campus, some retail shops, things like that, so we can still get that revenue.
Right.
But try to please people living here first, and get people coming in.
Both sides.
Yeah.
And then a little time to tell people out there why they should vote for you on November 7th. They go into the voting booth. Why should they check your name?
Well, I think you should vote for me because my primary goal is voter satisfaction.
Okay. Right
now, we're I think one of the most highest percentages any candidate ever received in the most recent memory was 39%. And he was so popular with 39%, he moved on to become a congressman. Everyone else kind of gets 20%, 30%. Right. So you got a large group of voters who are just doing this thing symbolically. And I don't think all those people died face down in the muck so we could just not have representation when we go to vote.
Right.
So I'd like to implement a better voting system.
Okay. Now we'll move on to Larry Faunus, and I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience, especially Golden Valley people.
All right. Well, I'll add my thanks for having me here again. It's always good to be on your show. So my name is Larry Faunus, and I am running for election to the Golden Valley City Council. I've been a resident and homeowner in the city for 21 years. I'm a retired business owner. In my career, I've managed operations both in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, and I've been responsible for hundreds of employees and budgets in excess of $10 million. I have a great affection for Golden Valley. It's a great town. It has a lot of amenities, and I'm looking forward to continuing in my re-election bid to serve on the Golden Valley City Council.
Thank you. Now we'll shift to issues that you want to share, not in any particular order, but what you'd like to share with our audience tonight.
Well, I'd like to share with you the 4 strategic themes that are part of my campaign. And to learn more, you can go to my website, www.larryfaunist.com, and you'll find a wealth of information there, along with a very complete listing of my accomplishments while in the City Council. The 4 strategic areas are targeted development and redevelopment, infrastructure, maintenance and enhancement, fiscal management and responsibility, and finally, effective governance. And I'll touch on a number of items under each one of those headings that will get to the list that you shared with the viewers earlier. It's interesting to note that in the 2016 citizen survey that was completed by the Morris Leatherman Company, and they do surveys of all of the metropolitan suburbs and cities, Golden Valley was ranked in the top 5 suburbs to live in.
That's pretty good.
It's very good. And 88% of the folks that responded to the survey, and there were some 400, indicated, 88% indicated satisfaction with the direction of the city. And to that point, we get to targeted development and redevelopment.
Right.
I understand where my colleague is coming from here in terms of maintaining the best of Golden Valley, our green spaces, our quiet neighborhoods and the like. But at the same time, if we're not keeping up with the times and looking for opportunities for development and redevelopment, we will be left behind.
True.
And not only in terms of potential growth within the city, but also in terms of our tax base. With government, like any other business or even our private homes, costs keep going up.
Oh, definitely.
And I don't see anything in the near future that would indicate otherwise. So in order to meet the demands of the city in terms of providing efficient services to our residents and so on and so forth, we need to grow our tax base. That takes the pressure off of residential housing and residential taxes. And so we're being very thoughtful about how we approach this, and we're approaching it primarily along the major corridors, travel corridors within the city. So we're talking 394, Highway 55, Douglas, Winnetka, and the like. And we've, in the last 4 years, added 7 major developments in the city and some 1,600 housing units.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is, and a great many of these are at market rate, appealing to young families, young professionals, and the like. The City Council just this last month passed an inclusionary housing policy, which will require all future developments to include affordable housing units on a 1-to-10 ratio. 1 unit of affordable housing for every 10 that are built. And the target audience for these affordable housing units are workforce folks, teachers, police officers, people who work at your local grocery store and so forth, and seniors, many of whom in Golden Valley want to age in place. And if not in their home, then in a senior living facility where they can have their own apartment or the like. So that is an important piece of the future of Golden Valley. Just to touch a bit more on Douglas Drive. As our viewers know, that has been under construction for 2 years. And we do see the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally. The street will be open from Medicine Lake Road down to Highway 55 later in November. And then the final finishing pieces in terms of landscaping and the like will be finished up next spring. That said, there is a golden opportunity to redevelop that corridor. Optum is sitting empty, and the tenant companies are looking at building a new world headquarters at Highway 55 and 100. So they'd be vacating their building on Douglas as well. So that would open up a huge parcel of land there for mixed-use development or something other appropriate to the city. And there are a number of other sites along Douglas going to the north that also would fit that development mode. So that's it for that topic, although there's a lot more again on my website.
We could talk for a long time, right?
Indeed, I could go on, for quite some time. But touching very briefly on infrastructure maintenance and enhancement, a good deal of our underground infrastructure is at least 50 years old or older, and it is failing. We just had a sinkhole develop on Winnetka Avenue, and we had to close the street down in order to do repairs. And what happened was that the underground water pipe burst and created a sinkhole. And we just at our last council meeting approved $57,000 to line the existing pipe with a new man-made product that will last for 50 to 100 years.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to be a reoccurring problem in our city, and so I'm committed to working with my colleagues on the council to make sure that over a span of 40 plus years, we replace or repair all of our underground infrastructure. Moving on to financial stability, the city is working very hard to keep property taxes as low as possible. FYI to our viewers, we're looking at a 4.13% increase in 2018. Our levy, our proposed levy is $22.4 million.
Okay.
But we, in comparison to many of the cities around us, are operating or proposing a budget here that is lower in terms of impact on our citizens than other communities in the area. And we are working very diligently to keep a balance between providing effective, efficient services to our city and holding prices or taxes down. And it's a challenge. I mean, it's constantly in motion. But I'm very pleased. The proposed tax levy, the 4.13%, is more than half of what it was last year.
Oh, big change.
Yeah, big change, big drop. And our commitment is to try and continue to do that going into the future. Then finally, in terms of effective governance, we're working as a council and as a city on our 2040 comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And looking into the future in terms of where we would like to envision Golden Valley in that year of 2040. We're looking at land use, housing, resilience and sustainability, water resources, transportation, parks and natural resources, and economic competitiveness. And a good many of these topics have already been flushed out, and or fleshed out, I should say.
Right.
And we will be opening a comment period for the general public in April of 2018. So this will be a real opportunity for people to step forward and share their views in terms of their vision for the city. And then we will be submitting the final plan to the Metropolitan Council in December of 2018.
Right.
So that is a huge undertaking. We've been working on it for over 2 years now, and it will help direct the city's activities going forward into the next couple of decades.
Right. Well, I want to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with our audience out there. And we encourage you, remember, if any of these issues are important to you and you live in Golden Valley, please be in touch with the candidates tonight and the ones from last week, because it is important for you to be an educated voter and know who you're voting for and why. And there's lots of places you can gather information. You can get it from the Sun Post articles. You can get it from our show tonight. The League of Women Voters has a debate on it. I think each of the candidates has a website. So there's lots of places to go to gather information. But take the time and find out who are the candidates that best will represent you and what your thoughts and your ideas are. And then we do encourage you to, if you haven't registered to vote or you haven't voted for a while, to go on the Minnesota Secretary of State website, and they'll be able to tell you if you need to register to vote. They have a place where you can plug some information in. Depending on time limits, you can register to vote on their website. You can also go to City Hall to register to vote, and you can register to vote on the day of the election. So there's lots of opportunities for you to be able to do that, and we do encourage you to take time to do that. And I was going to have each of our guests finish up with, what's one priority that you'd like to see happen if you get elected? We'll start with you.
As I mentioned earlier, it would be electoral reform.
Right.
So that way, instead of 30% of the electorate being satisfied with the outcome, it would hopefully be something more like 60%.
Right.
And that would simply be by taking away the limit of options of people you can vote for.
Right.
So now you can vote for whoever you would like, and there's a good chance one of them will get elected, and it'll eliminate vote splitting. And it's more democratic. It gives the voter freedom. And it's proportional, because then instead of just saying, oh, this guy got the most votes, it takes every combination of seats and takes the one that the most voters are satisfied with.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I was just reminded that I didn't give you a chance to tell Golden Valley people why they should vote for you. So I'll let you do that instead of your priorities. That's an important one.
All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've lived in Golden Valley for 21 years, and I have found it a very diverse and welcoming community, and a great place to live, work, and recreate. There's a lot of wonderful attributes to the city, and I am grateful to have had the privilege to serve on the Golden Valley City Council for the last 4 years, and I've grown into the position, and in the process, I feel I've accomplished many positive outcomes, not only for the city, but the community and residents as well. And there remains much to be done. And I feel I have the motivation and the insight to get it done. I'm committed on a very personal level to public service and to creating a shared vision for our city and its future that is both vital and promising. And I value open, responsive, and effective governance that encourages citizen engagement.
Very good. Well, I want to thank both of you for sharing your thoughts and your ideas with our audience. And we'll encourage our audience, be sure to get out there and vote on November 7th. It is important for our cities that people speak to what they want to see happening in their cities. So we're glad that you both are with us, and we'll wish you luck as you go into the election. Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Thanks so much.